Today we are making a video on Ubuntu Cinnamon 23.04 Lunar Lobster. It is a flavor of Ubuntu 23.04. So here is a boot menu. So in order to boot it in a live mode, try or install Ubuntu Cinnamon, and here are some of other options. So let's boot it in a live boot by clicking on enter. It's going to take a minute or a minimum of 30 to 40 seconds to show up the desktop layout. Again, this is a stable version. So if you want to try it, you can always try it. If you ask me, my opinion or my tip from me is like it's always better option to boot it in a live boot first. Use it for 7 to 8 hours. If you don't find any bugs, you can go with the installation to your hard disk. So it's always better option to go with the live boot first. So I'm saying this again and again because I don't want you to ruin your PC. So that's the reason I'm going to mention it again and again. So don't forget that. Even it's a stable version, it's always a better option to go with the live boot first, then go to the installation. Don't just rush it and try to install it directly. Always go with the live boot. So I forgot to mention that I'm running it on a virtualization, which is a VMware with 80 GB of hard disk, 4 GB of RAM, and 2 processors running. Here is our Ubuntu Cinnamon logo. We should be having our desktop layout loaded completely in a few seconds. Because it usually takes 30 to 40 seconds if it's a good Linux distro or lightweight Linux distros. Almost every Linux distro I used took like 30 to 40 seconds usually. Some of the worst Linux distro are like a deep in desktop environment, and some other Linux distributions which usually takes like a 2 minute, like a 2 minute 30 seconds like that to load up. Even after loading up, it's still going to give us a torture to use. These are some of the worst Linux distro I used. So here is our Lunar Lobster wallpaper of Ubuntu Cinnamon 23.04. So the wallpaper is almost loaded, and we should be having our desktop loaded in any seconds, which is almost like a 20 seconds almost, or 25 seconds already. Still few more seconds, we should be having our desktop loaded completely. So this is a stable version. I already made Ubuntu flavors or Ubuntu version with 23.04 Lunar Lobster. If you want to check that out, you can check that out. I made a lot of videos on all the flavors already. Go check that out in my channel. I will be posting 2 videos daily, so here is another content, and the other video is also ready. You can watch that after watching this video completely. So here is our welcome screen. You will always get 2 options, like a live boot and install directly from here. It's always a good option or a tip from me to boot it in a live boot. I already mentioned because I don't want you to ruin your PC, and I'm again mentioning it again to boot it in a live boot first. Then if you're satisfied without bugs, and if you're satisfied with the Linux distro, go with the installation. Just use it for 7 to 8 hours. After you're satisfied, go with the installation. And I'm going to warn you, don't save anything in a live boot because it's going to delete it after you reboot or remove the live boot. So be careful with it. So first you need to choose your languages. I'm choosing English. There are plenty of languages available. So click on live boot, which is try Ubuntu Cinnamon. It's going to take a few more seconds, like a maximum of 20 seconds, and we should be having our desktop layout in any second. So let's wait for a few seconds, and we should be having our desktop layout loaded with all the apps. I'm running it on a VMware, so I need to change the display settings first, and then we will go to the system monitor and check the resources. Here is our mouse pointer, which looks good and working properly, and here is our desktop layout loaded completely. Let's first change the display resolution by going to app menu, preference, display settings. My resolution is 1920 x 1080 with a 16:9 ratio. Click on apply. Keep the new configuration. If you can't see the text or a font or a bold, any like applications, you can't see the text or font, you need to change the monitor scale to 125 to 150%, because 1920 x 1080 with the 125% and 150% will be perfect matching or perfect setting for you. So that's it. So let me close this thing. That's a tip, just a small tip. So let's open the system monitor and see the resources, how much resources are consumed before opening the apps. And I'm going to open the system monitor again at the end of the video, so you will be having an exact numbers of how much resources will be consumed before and after running through all the features and applications. So you should be having an idea, and you can judge the Linux distro on your own. So these are all the processes running right now. Let's go to the resources. Let me change the color so you can look properly. So here is the CPU and here is the RAM. RAM is almost 1.6 GB, which is almost 40% for 4 GB, and cache is 2.9 GB. So if you are using a 2 GB of RAM, and if you ask me to use if you can use this Linux distro, so the answer is no, you can't use this Linux distro on a 2 GB of RAM. As you can see, it's already almost around 1.6 GB, and 2 GB RAM will be like a 1.8 GB. So you don't have anything to use here. It will be very laggy and will be a torture for you to use this Linux distro. If you want to use the Ubuntu flavors, go with the Ubuntu and Ubuntu version. They are best in a RAM consuming. They will be consuming like a 500 and 700 MB like that. So it's a better option. And a tip from me, or what you call it, guide to use like a Ubuntu or a lightweight Linux distro. So they are the best options for 2 GB RAM. So we ran almost like 1 minute of CPU and memory. The CPU is almost under 20% or 25%. RAM is almost 1.6 GB. So let's check the about system, which is a 4.0. Let's go with the system, file system. So if you want to remember or write it down, or you can even put the video side by side, and you should be seeing the resources, exact numbers. You will be getting exact numbers, and you can judge it on your own to use this Linux distro or not. So let's open the terminal and let's try to grab every distro info. Let's try to change the preference and change the color, because you can't see the color right now. Black and white should be good for you. You can properly see it. Let's type in command, which is inxi-sv8. This command will grab every information of the distro. You should be seeing every information here. On the system, host is Ubuntu Cinnamon. This Ubuntu Cinnamon 23.04 Lunar Lobster, and the kernel is 6.2.0-20, which is the latest version. And the latest version released in Linux kernel is 6.3 today. So that's the latest version, and it's a 64-bit architecture. And if you're having a 2 GB, not the 2 GB, if you're having a 32-bit, if you want a 32-bit architecture, the file size ISO file is not available, so you need to go with the 64-bit. And desktop environment is Cinnamon 5.6.7, GTK version is 3.24.37, LightDM version is 1.30.0, and distro is Ubuntu 23.04 Lunar Lobster. So it says Ubuntu 23.04 Lunar Lobster because it's a flavor of Ubuntu 23.04. Ubuntu Cinnamon is a flavor of Ubuntu 23.04. So that's the reason it says like that. On the machine it says VMware. I'm running it on a VMware, so it says VMware. And BIOS FinoX version is 6.00. And on a RAM it says 1.52 GB of 4 GB. Here is my CPU. If you want to check that out, you can check it out here. So let's scroll it down and find other information like a VMWGFX version 2.20.00, and display X11 server Xorg version is 1.21.1.7. and here are the display resolutions available, or the monitors available right here. You can choose any display resolution here. API OpenGL version is 4.1, Mesa is 23.0.2, and Pulse Audio is version 16.1, Pipewire version is 0.3.65. So let me scroll it down and let's find another the other distro info. INXI version is 3.3.25. Init systemd version is 252. Uptime is 7 minutes. Processors running are 284 right now. Backups are 21. And shell bash version is 5.2.15. So these are the distro info. Let's type in another command, which is inxi. We should give the same information in a short form. Nothing is changed there, just the same information. And another command is inxi-G. Again the same distro info, nothing changed, in a short form, that's it. inxi-small b, same distro info, just in a short form again. Cat /etc/issue. I typed it wrong, which is cat etc issue. Hit enter, which is Ubuntu 23.04. So let me type neofetch, because some people want neofetch. So here is a neofetch. Let's type in htop. Htop is not installed, so let me install it htop by copying this command. Let me copy and paste it here and hit enter. It's going to take a maximum of 12 seconds to install the htop. As you can see, htop is installed. Let me type htop, and here is the htop. RAM, CPUs and tasks are 107. We grabbed every distro info here, so let's close this thing and let's go to the Firefox web browser and let's try to download the Ubuntu Cinnamon 23.04 from their official website. I'm going to show you the tutorial of how to download and how to get to their website. Firefox should take like 10 to 15 seconds to boot up or load up. So here is the Firefox version, which is 311.0. So let's type in Ubuntu Cinnamon as a search term. Ubuntu Cinnamon 23.04. Here is the search term. You need to type in that search term and you should be having your ISO file here. It says daily build and beta, no problem, you just need to click on it. Even if you click on beta version, you should be having the stable version, because the beta version, as soon as the stable version is released, the beta version will be removed. So this is a daily build. If you want to go to the daily builds, you can go with the daily builds. If you want to download the stable version, just remove the beta in front of them in the URL. Just click on this and this is the URL. Go to the releases. If you want to directly type in the URL, you can directly type in this like this, or Ubuntu Cinnamon 23.04 Lunar Lobster. There is no daily build or beta. That means it's a stable version. You should always verify the name and go with the download. Don't just blindly download anything like that. So this is the URL, this is the name, and these are all the files. The file size is around 4.3 GB ISO file size. Let's click on it. And I'm using a VPN, so it's slow for me. So this is the file size, which is 4.3 GB. I showed you everything, so let's close this thing and let's go with the installation process. I'm going to show you the installation formality. I'm not going to I don't want to install it. I'm just going to show you the formality of installation. And you don't get a new installer like Ubuntu 23.04 with a GNOME desktop environment. It has a new installer, but the other flavors of Ubuntu doesn't have the new installer. That is pretty odd and that is pretty weird, because the new installer is pretty much fast, but we are still with the old version here. Let's go to installation process. First you need to choose the English or the other language which is suitable for you. I'm going to choose English. Click on continue. This is again the basic and not so complicated installation process. There is nothing complicated here. Choose the keyboard layout. I'm going to choose English on the both sides. You can choose anything. Click on continue. You can test it here if you want. So the updates and other softwares, which is we have some of the option. I'm going to run it through fast. On the normal installation, you get everything like a web browser, utilities, software, games and media players. You get everything. This is the best option to choose. On the minimal installation, you get just a web browser and basic utilities. For example, basic utilities are a mousepad or a text editor or a calculator like that. So if you ask my opinion, I'm going to choose the normal installation. I'm going to recommend this also for everyone. So after downloading a 4.5 GB of file size, no one goes with the minimal installation. That's a basic common sense there. So go with the normal installation. And on the other options, you will get two options like download updates while installing Ubuntu Cinnamon. This saves time after installation. This is pretty much accurate because it saves time after. If you want to do that later, you can do that. If you ask me, it's better option to choose right now, and it's going to help in the Wi-Fi graphics and media formats. If you choose right now, you can do that later. It's clearly up to you to customize it later. If you ask me, I'm going to choose it right now. Click on continue. It's going to take 30 to 40 seconds to prepare the Ubuntu drivers. Instead of waiting for that, let's go with desktop features. Let's check out desktop features, which are calendar, time, volume, internet connection, notifications. There is update here to download. You can download. I'm not going to download right now. And here is the language. Let's check out the desktop backgrounds also, instead of waiting 30 to 40 seconds. Here are some of the wallpapers available. Again, same wallpapers, just a few wallpapers changed. So you can go through all these things and customize these things. I'm not going to wait for more seconds, so I'm just going to change any simple wallpaper available right here. I'm going to choose this wallpaper. So that's it on the wallpaper side and desktop features. Let's come back to the installation process. This is an installation type. You need to be very careful while choosing this, and you should be having an idea of what you're doing here, because erase disk and install Ubuntu Cinnamon, meaning it's going to delete everything, even the operating system, current operating system. So be careful of what you're doing here. On the advanced feature, you get encryption and some other features you can go through on your own. So on something else, you should be choosing like a partitioning, like a dual boot operating system like that. So you need to be having an idea of what you're doing here. So I'm going to choose erase disk and install Ubuntu, and click on install now. It's going to take like a 20 minutes maximum, or 5 to 10 minutes minimum. Depends on your PC, depends on the Linux distro. After the install, it's going to say finish and reboot. After rebooting, you should be having your Linux distro completely installed on your hard disk. Whether you choose the erase disk, you should be having a single boot. If you choose something else, you should be having dual operating systems. You can choose your operating system there. So that's the process of installation. If you're running it on a VMware, which is a virtualization, like a virtual box like that, you should be you should be having no problem. Even if you choose erase disk, you should be not losing anything. So that's the thing of installation process. So again, I'm going to say that again, if you are want to install any Linux distro, always go with the live boot first, then go with the installation. After you're satisfied without any bugs, then go with the installation. So I think we covered everything, and we showed the installation process also. Let's go to the pre-installed apps. Let's check out what are the apps which comes with Ubuntu Cinnamon pre-installed. So these are all the apps available or pre-installed. Almost pretty much everything is from Cinnamon desktop environment, just few apps. Instead of opening every app, let's go to the software manager, and let me show you the versions right there. Instead of opening every app, there is update of Firefox. Let's go to the installed version. Let's check the about software. The version is 44.0. Ignore the background noise because there is a construction going around my house, and some of noise from the kids and some people. So try to ignore that, and even ignore the mouse clicking and keyboard because Yeti microphone picks up everything. So let's only open the important apps, which is GIMP. Version should be like a 2.10.33 like that, 2.10.34. So let's go back and open another app, which is LibreOffice. Version should be 7.5.2. The version should be same for every LibreOffice application, even if it's Impress, Writer, whatever it is, the version will be same. I think we opened every app, I guess, important apps. Let's close this thing and see if there has Thunderbird mail. So let me open this Thunderbird and show you the version. And let's open the system monitor and end the video. We covered everything, so we don't need to show anything there. And again, the available apps are just from the Cinnamon desktop environment, so I don't want to open and show you everything. So the version is not 2.10.0. I don't want to make the video lengthy because this is all the pre-installed apps which comes with the Cinnamon desktop environment, so nothing is changed. I showed the important apps version there, like LibreOffice, Thunderbird. These are the main apps. So let me open the Synaptic Package Manager and System Monitor and end the video. The version of Synaptic Manager should be 0.91, I guess, or 90. The version is 0.91.3. So let's drag this thing down. The installed version should be highlighted with a green color and the version should be here. So let me quickly run through this thing. If you want to see this in a slow speed, you can change the speed in YouTube settings. Playback speed from 1 to 0.25. You should be seeing the packages in a slow speed. Or you can just pause the video to see the installed versions. So these are the Synaptic Manager. Let me close this thing, open the System Monitor and show you how much resources are consumed after opening some of the apps, settings, all these things. And you should be having an idea of how much resources are consumed. It's almost a 1.8 GB, which is almost 44% of 4.1 GB. I'm using a 4 GB of RAM, it is using a 1.8 GB, and these are the CPU. It's up to you to judge to use this Linux distro or not. If you ask me, for 2 GB of RAM, it is not for a good, this is not a good Linux distro for a 2 GB of RAM. You need to skip it because it's almost a 1.8 GB. I didn't open much of apps, just a few settings and features, that's it. It's almost a 1.8 GB. So it's clearly up to you to judge to use it or not. If you ask me, in my opinion, Ubuntu Cinnamon is good. Ubuntu Budgie, Ubuntu Studio and Ubuntu Kylin, these are 3 Ubuntu flavors which are worst in my opinion. If it's good for you, I have no problem, you can use it. I respect your opinion. Again, I make 2 videos daily without missing any day. I already made another video. You can watch that after watching this video. So again, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the thumbs up button. It helps make a good content for you. Other than that, I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace out. I already made another video, so if you want to check that out, you can check that out. Peace out.